Hello and welcome to Close Up. This is the year 2020 and we are looking at the rice sector. For 2019, the rice sector has performed very well. And so during Close Up in this year, the first part of the year, we will want to be looking at some of those sectors that did well as those that struggle and what we can do to really enhance them. In with us, we have got the General Manager of the GRDB, the Ghana Rice Development Board, Mr. Nizam Hassan, and we want to welcome him to our program. And of course, congratulations and all the best for this brand new year.
Thank you, Mark, and very best wishes to you and the rest of the team at NCN.
Correct. Now, the rice sector has long been one of the pillars, major contributors to our GDP, and it's holding strong against, of course, quite a number of challenges.
Indeed.
A number of the sectors have been having challenges, and it come in the rice as it relates to agriculture. I mean, you've got to deal with climate change, you've got to deal with so many other variants as it relates to agriculture. But the sector has been holding strong in so much that the GRDB, a statement I noticed coming out of the GRDB, has placed rice, increased production in the rice sector. And it's one that, of course, you guys will want to give a tap on your shoulders. But you being modest, I know, will want to really trickle it down to those that are responsible for this increase. Let's talk about it. The farmers and those agencies that are responsible for supporting the sector as strongly as they did.
Indeed, Mark, and thanks a lot, and thanks for having me on the program.
Right.
Indeed, there are challenges in rice production, challenges from land preparation right up to harvesting. But the key challenges would be probably in the accessibility or the delivery of water, and sometimes it's because of the planting patterns of the farmers within a particular block or area. Some farmers, in their haste, would move ahead with the land preparation, whilst others are not ready. And so, as the crop progresses, some want water and some don't want water. That's one of the challenges we, the GRDB, along with the water managers, the NDIA, MMA, and all the other bodies that would manage water supply and delivery, are continuously working on to see how we can get farmers to plant strategically.
Mhm.
That said, also, the issues of pests and diseases, they always pop up. It's agriculture, is a live product, so to speak. Um, Within the pest area, I mean, paddy bugs have always shown up as one of the most pests with most economic significance.
Mhm.
And over the years, the damages created by the paddy bug has had a negative effect on the production of paddy. Over the past year, and well, I should say late 2018 and into 2019, GRDB provided greater support to the farming community. In the first crop of 2019, we rolled out a program for almost 6 weeks where Region 2, which was hit in the
Mhm.
second crop of 2018, they were hit really in some specific areas, and we sent out a team where we provided all the materials necessary for using the chemicals to control the spread of the bugs. And with the result of that, because we were able to reduce the incidences, we really can't stop it completely, but we reduced the incidences of the paddy bug, and some farmers were able to recover, and they got their paddy harvested. As we move into the second crop of 2019, we noticed that the bugs had showed up earlier. And earlier you mentioned the issues or the issue of climate change.
Mhm.
And these things are happening, we have no control of. It's the environment we're dealing with, right? So we responded headstrong and head on. We went full force. We put teams out across the regions that were affected. Primarily, where it was showing up more was in Region 6, some in Region 5, and Region 2.
Mhm.
Region 3 was not that a
Affected.
lot, yes. And Region 4, well, there's a small production there, and that also was not so much affected. But yeah, some. And what we did before the bugs arrived or showed up in the farmers' fields, they would go just as the plant is going into milking stage and the paddy is developing on the plant. they will be outside of the fields, in the dams and the mares and so on. They group up and they have big, um, we're all there. And so what we did was using the teams, once they were found, we went and we eradicated, well, we sprayed them out. So that's what we did. Additionally, as part of our ongoing monitoring program, because as the crop progresses, we have the extension officers and paddy bug management officers monitoring the incidence of paddy bug. And so there's an acceptable level. Once they see more than that level, it is informed to the head, and then a process kicks in where a team goes out and spray the bugs.
Mm.
So that has helped a lot in the second crop of 2019, so much so that we've seen increases in production, and also, well, it's not just last year, we've had increase in productivity continuously. As we've been going, almost every crop we have a 0.1 ton, a couple of bags increases in production. So we had last year, or I should say 2019, we had increases in production because of a number of reasons. Some of them are there were some more acreages, more lands that came into production, and this was in a direct response to the demands being placed for the supply of paddy. Of course, that itself, the increase in demand came because of the increase in market opportunities. Then there was better quality seed paddy that went into the production.
Mhm.
You know, we at the GRDB, we produce seed paddy. We produce annually between, let's say, 23 to 25,000 bags of seed paddy. Better quality seed paddy going into production. Firstly, we will supply other seed growers across the country. There are farmers who are seed growers. So they would either buy the basic seed or the certified one seed, and then they produce seed to supply to farmers. And then also we have farmers buying seed paddy from us and supplying into the industry.
Okay.
So better quality seed paddy meant that between 10 to 15% more improvements in productivity can be had.
Okay. All right. You've gotten into an area that, of course, I want to touch on, and you're talking here about the farmers, and we want to use this again to say congratulations to those hardworking farmers in the fields. A question I was going to ask, but I noticed you picked up on it, and it would have been, have you seen increased numbers into the farming population? And you've said because by virtue of the demand, we have had more farmers on board and more fields that are being cultivated. So that's a positive sign. As it relates to I know they've been, and this is a conversation over time about a better payment for the yields from farmers and from what they're doing. And I remember as well, way back, I haven't heard of it last year, unless it slipped me, the issue with farmers and I think it would have been those guys that are responsible for I'm trying to remember the aspect, but the second, I think it's the second tier. I'm trying to recall exactly.
The quality control officers?
Not the quality control, but where they would have gotten their manufacturers from.
The millers?
The millers, right? The millers.
Yeah.
And so I know that was a problem that was showing up so much over the years. I'm not hearing so much of that now. And is it that the GRDB has stepped in to iron it out, or is it with the relationship that you've got with the Ghana Rice Producers Association that you've been able to speak with the farmers indirectly or have that conversation to have some of those issues dealt with?
Right. There are some situations in which farmers are still owed. But what we have seen over the years, and not just in 2019, over the years, that the millers, they have been honoring their obligations
Okay.
in the greater part of paying the farmers on time, or if not on time, not too long after. But there are some situations in which farmers are owed, and then eventually they get paid. Some of it has to do with the market situations, because in some cases, the millers themselves are waiting for payment from their buyers.
Okay.
But that said, indeed, for 2019, I can tell you, because as we have reported, we had almost an astronomical jump, if I can say, in the export to Venezuela. We did over 177,000 tons. compared to what we had done in 2018. Now, that market is a favorable market for us. It's gotten up to just as the levels were when we had the Petro-Caribbean agreement
Mhm.
and it was a government to government. In this case, it's the millers exporting to private buyers into Venezuela. It's not a government to government arrangement as such, but that market is providing the payments, and so the millers are able to pay the farmers. So a great part of our production, as a matter of fact, for exports, is 34% of our overall exports of 2019 went to Venezuela.
Right. The Venezuelan story is a good one for us. We were always looking to to get markets.
Yeah.
Venezuela's increased. Do we have other nations that have not bought rice from us at all that are beginning to show an indication that they want to start purchasing rice from us?
Well, we export to a number of countries. I mean, within CARICOM, we export to 10 of the CARICOM countries.
15, 10 of the 15.
10
That's
out of
great.
15, yes.
Wow.
Overall, we export to about 34 countries in Europe, in Latin America, and of course in CARICOM. In North America, for last year, we only sent 551,000 tons, I think it is, to the U.S. But all of the countries have been buying products from us. You've seen a few new countries in Europe, but overall, it's been really good for the export.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
What about incentives? Have you at all, is there any plan or probably down the road, or is it already in place, incentives for the farmers, especially with the bumper year that you had for 2019 and probably anticipating a greater year in this new 2020?
Well, the GRDB is not an agency that will grant concessions and incentives and so on. We primarily are there to do research, extend the results of those research, help in market development, and do promotional activities. That's essentially the role of the GRDB. In terms of incentives to the industry, will come from other government agencies.
All right. Can you help us with some, if you do have that information, some new markets apart from the increase from Venezuela, new markets we have gained, let's say, probably in the last 2 or 3 years, if you can?
Well, Mexico, of course, we had exported to
Mhm.
in 2017 to 2018. We didn't send anything to Mexico in 2019 because the Mexican market primarily wanted paddy.
Mhm.
And over the latter part of 2017 and the first half of 2018, 200,000 tons of paddy were exported. Um, but the Mexican market is now being supplied with a much more competitive price
Mhm.
or supply from the U.S. So that market, it still exists, but it's not economical for us to continue that market. And of course, with Venezuela coming on and wanting rice, you see, it's better for us to export rice than paddy
Correct.
because there is so much more activity to be done here, and also with packaging and so on, it helps with the whole economy. Then you have all the products that will come out from the processing, the broken rice, the bran, and so on. All of that could still be sold, but when you send paddy, you send
Yes.
everything out.
Mhm.
In terms of the new markets, we have countries like Croatia, the Czech Republic, but I did mention Mexico. Um, those are some of the countries that came on over the last few years.
Let's talk about some of the agencies that have been responsible, because I know the GIDB, you're sitting at the helm looking over, but there's so many other agencies and units that are helping in aid of what we're seeing as it relates to the surplus in rice exports. The extension officers, the research center, some of the work that's being done there, some of the varieties that have been found. I know you guys have been working over time on new varieties. If many of those varieties have been checked, and probably if you do have the results, how they're doing.
Oh, definitely. Well, let's talk about the agencies. We have, of course, water is critical for us. So we have the National Drainage and Irrigation Authority,
yeah.
and of course, all the other water managers, because the NDI itself, that's more like a look at the macro level. But you have the MMA, and then you have water users associations and so on. We have agencies within the sector. We have the Pesticide and Toxic Chemicals Control Board. I mean, they manage the whole issue of registration of chemicals and ensuring that the right pesticides
And this
and
particular agency is very pivotal.
oh, definitely, because you want to ensure that the right product is available for the farmers, and the products that should not be used are not used. Um, so we have the MMA, I mentioned the MMA, GRDB. We have the NARI is Plant Protection Office.
Okay.
And this primarily with regards to export, because whilst we will do the quality inspection and certification for rice and rice products for export, the phytosanitary certificate and all that is issued by the plant quarantine arm of
Okay.
NARI. And then you have private sector bodies, the shipping associations and all those private sector companies and so on. But with regards to the performance of the industry, it's kudos to everybody: the farmers, the millers, the exporters, the input suppliers. Of course, um, our staff has done a lot. Our extension workers, our researchers, a lot of effort has gone into really. What we want to do is increase production by also increasing productivity and ensuring that we can market the product. And as it is right now, um, we can market all that we can produce.
Okay. Byproducts, which is something that you touched on just a little bit. Have we been spending a lot of time on that? Because I know we're making the money on rice, and the byproducts too have got their part. But are we seeing so handsome yields that we're concentrating mainly on the main product and not so much byproducts?
Well, byproducts in the industry is referred to like the broken rice and the damaged products and so on, and the brand and so on. That goes into our feed industry,
Right.
and some of it is also exported. Um, but if you're referring to downstream processed products like value-added products,
Yes.
we have started some research on that adding value to rice and rice products over the past few years. We've successfully we've done research successfully to prove that a blend of 80% wheaten flour and 20% rice flour can produce a bread or pastry that is of equal taste or good significance and has the acceptance of the market. Last October, during our Agriculture Month celebrations, we presented our findings and we presented a lot of samples and so on. And we've been doing that promotional work. We have in our plans is to do further work to do research on rice noodles and those kinds of products. But of course, some of it requires us upgrading our facilities because we would require some equipment and so on. And those are things that would engage our attention as we go forward.
The big notion on climate change is something that has been working well. In fact, not as climate change has been working well for the farming industry as relates to rice, but because of the experience of the farmers, they've been able to manage how they deal with the emergence of whether it's excess weather or whether it's the dry spell,
Right.
that kind of thing. We have been seeing some really, really rapidly changing patterns as relates to climate change. Are you worried at all that some of this could push back production if it gets a little bit too rigid for the farming community?
Well, let's look at what happened at Danzig in the Maikoni area with that overtopping or the breaking down of
Yeah.
the sea defenses, right? It's about 1,000 acres of land that is affected there. That itself, even if we fix the sea defenses and we get it right back up, the land will not be available for use for a couple of cropping seasons, maybe 2 to 3 or 3 to 4 cropping seasons, which would be about at max 2 years, because the salinity level of the land is so high. So yes, climate change and the issues of climate change can pose a challenge to paddy production, not only in the area of overtopping or salinity levels. You can have different incidences of pests and diseases showing up because of varying situations. With regards to our work, we are doing research on getting a salt-tolerant variety. So basically, it's a variety that can withstand a higher level of salt tolerance than the varieties that we currently produce um, can tolerate. Also, we are working and we've been training farmers and advising them, I should say, um, to look for the signs and to plant within specific periods. Because we depend on the rainfall, and that's why
Yeah.
we have the two cropping seasons. So we depend on the rainfall to plant within these times. If you plant outside of those time, then you have to irrigate, and it is the additional cost of production.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. The farming population is one I know because of how long we have been in rice farming as a nation. You probably do have quite a number of aged or experienced farmers. Those guys don't like to hear aged at all, so let's use the word experienced farmers around. But do we have, because of the new markets and the demand on rice, and the new guys and gals coming in, do you have a swollen population as relates to young farmers that need the experience of the older ones? And do you have a working arrangement? I mean, the GRDB is at a different level, but you may have an understanding as to what's happening on the
Oh
ground.
yeah, definitely. The population is still mixed. We still have some matured farmers, rather than age, I'd say matured
Yeah.
guys with lots of experiences. But we also have some young guys who have gone to the Guyana School of Agriculture, and even some of them with university level training, who may have come from a family background of farming, but now they're bringing in the improved ways, and they're bringing their knowledge, what they've studied, into that production. So that also um, is a reason then for why we're seeing what we're seeing.
Right.
It's a mixture. You asked me about the composition.
Right.
There's a mixture of both matured farmers as well as new and young farmers. But what we found, that new and the young farmers, they are more open to receive the technology that we are transferring and to try it. I'm not saying that the older farmers don't, but it's more, well, I guess because from their experiences, they're comfortable in their
Yes,
area.
yes.
So over time, when they see it's been done this way, then they themselves will adapt.
Right. What about the female population? Because I know there are quite a number of ladies in farming, and sometimes you don't hear about them.
Yes.
But I know down in the backlands in the fields, you do have that percentage.
We do have, it's a smaller number of females that are involved in rice production as against the males. But there are female farmers.
All right. Let's talk about the plan that you've got, because I know based on your plan and your projection, in your eyes, you're seeing a healthy 2020. Is it a 5-year plan, or is it one that's done a 2-year on and then you do an inspection and you roll over with it?
Based on current market trends, what we've seen gained in 2019, and I have to say this market is not just 2019, and over the years,
Yes,
production and
yeah, it's
productivity
been
have
coming.
been increasing. There were a few dips in some of the countries that we exported to in 2018, but that aside, we've been progressing upwards. That trend is so far expected to continue, given global consumption of rice is on the increase. And global consumption of rice is on the increase because people are more conscious or they're moving away, I should say, from gluten, and there are more persons with celiac disease and gluten intolerance and so on, and so they're using more rice-based products, more rice-based value-added products, not just oil and rice, but the downstream processed products that you referred to earlier. So because of the increase in demand, is also putting that request on to us, Guyana, to supply. Some countries also have challenges with their production. Venezuela has challenges with their production, so that market exists. There are some countries that may only get one crop per year, so they do produce rice, but they can't produce all the rice. They will always have to import. And logistically, or yes, for logistics purposes, where Guyana is placed is cost effective for them to source from Guyana. So yes, the projections are that we will continue on this trajectory that we're on. You ask about whether it's 2-year or 5-year. So far, from what we've seen for over the next 5-year plan, it is on the upward move.
Okay. Right. I know we've been talking a whole lot about export market and what we're
Mm-hmm.
doing as it relates to really earning for what we produce. Let's talk about what's happening internally. There have been no quarrels about our ability to produce for local market because I know sometimes we tend to really go hard on the export
Mm-hmm.
and a little bit short on what we need right home here.
Right. Oh, I'm glad you asked that. Some mills have been retooling and improving the technology in processing the paddy into the rice, which means that better quality rice is coming out from the mills. Of course, as you export based on the quality specifications, you will be inspect and certify to ensure that those specifications are met. But this is not to say that bad quality rice or the lowest quality
Quality is
rice is
coming home.
available
Right.
for export. One of the products that we export is pet rice, which is the rejects and those kinds of things is bagged. I mean, it is also sold locally. So the real bad product goes into pet food or goes into animal food, and the better quality product, of course, is exported and available on the local market. You know, Mark, we have seen over the years, I'm saying what over 5 years now, you've seen a lot of packaged product, branded product that is available in the supermarkets and in village shops and in the municipal markets. And we are seeing less of the buying the 2 pint rice and the 1 gallon rice.
Okay.
That still exists, but there's less of that now than it was before.
Okay. But just before we move on and we're coming up to wrap up time, being an animal advocate, it doesn't mean at all that is the worst of what the spoils going to is going to the pets. It's just it's an improved quality of rice, but not the high end that is going to the pets.
Right,
We
but
just want to make that clear.
oh no, no, definite. Because with the brand and the other things that they put, the corn and the broken rice and all, is to make the feed. It doesn't mean that it's not good for the animals.
Right. Right.
It's what is needed.
All right. All right. We're just about wrapping up. I'll give you probably about a few minutes to probably, you can probably thank on those that have been responsible for the maintenance of the positive trajectory as it relates to rice for
Yeah,
2019.
Mark, and I'm glad you've given me this opportunity because, as I mentioned earlier when we started chatting, whilst we manage the industry, we depend on services from a number of agencies or businesses. Right? And so let's start with the water managers. They are very critical in ensuring that the supply and the delivery of the water is there on time and in the quantity that is required. Yes. The other agencies like the Pesticide Board, NARI, I mean, its plant quarantine arm, the Shipping Association. I mean, if the private sector wasn't there really to take out the product, the millers themselves working on the market opportunities and retooling, ensuring that the farmers are paid, buying the product, storing the product, milling the product, and then exporting it. So all of those stakeholders are very important. We ourselves, I mean, that is why we are there. So, I mean, we are there to see the industry develop.
Congratulations on that, and of course, we look forward to having this conversation, not at the end of the year or the beginning of 2021, but ever so often it's good for us to have it. But again, congratulations on you and your team.
Thank you
and
on behalf of the sector.
The entire sector.
Yeah.
Nizam Hassan, head of the Ghana Rice Development Board, talking to us about the pluses and some of the challenges as well as it relates to rice production. Increased production, Guyana doing well in rice. Thank you so much for being a part of Close Up. Thank you, Nizam, for coming, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Until our next program, I'm Mark Watson. Do take care and goodbye.